And they eventually conspire against him, have a coup, start a coup, do the coup. They do the coup. I don't know how you properly say that. Cold Beet Soup is a podcast for casual fans who want to explore lore and fandom rabbit holes in music and gaming.
And are sad sometimes.
I'm all
Now they
alone
can
in the
hear you.
world, all by
With no
myself.
technical difficulties today. No, sorry.
Not a single so they didn't hear what I said?
Yeah, in the beginning.
Oh, welcome to Cold Beet Soup. I just closed Discord too. I quit out of Discord because I was like, yeah, that's taking up a lot of resources.
Mm.
Because I was like, I'm not playing with this today. Happy New Year. New year, new meeting platform that we're gonna use. Just kidding. I don't mind Google Meet, to be honest. It's
Yeah,
you
now
know,
that
at
I can
least
do this, I'm all for it.
well, so when I react, does it float around? Because it doesn't float around for me.
Yeah, it floats by your head.
Oh, I thought it was like animated.
It is.
Oh, I just see from on so my POV, I only see like it in the top left corner. It just
Oh
shows up and then leaves.
no,
Yeah, it's not.
it's flying over you
Aw, that's so much more fun. What the hell? I'm so upset about that. What the hell? Anyways, so we're gonna talk about. Oh, I could show my shirt better this time. Yeah. Do you know who
Woo!
this is? Do you know? Why are you so quiet? Literally any answer,
I said
anything.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear anything at all.
I was like, oh, I guess I wasn't supposed to react.
No, I swear I heard nothing. Anyways, yeah is not his name. His name is Eddie. Can you see my presentation?
Yeah, I just said
Oh, yeah. I can't see these emojis, so I'm just gonna trust that whatever's happening is happening. Um, so today's gonna be a little bit different because normally we talk about like a band or a game. But this is a little more niche. It's a band's mascot. So Iron Maiden, they're a metal band. It's been around for a while, and they have this mascot named Eddie. And this title slide has lots of iterations of him on it. And I wanted to talk about him because I just thought he was interesting. I don't know. I There's some content out there about him, but not super like lengthy because there isn't a super long story. Um, but I fell into several rabbit holes when researching him, and that's kind of the same rabbit holes that we're going to cover today. So, gotta have my little outline slide. You know me.
Oh, we're gonna talk about the band background because I was gonna ask, are they an American band or
Yeah, so I want to give you well, you could see by the picture, you can guess where they're from.
Australia?
For audio listeners, I just want to say the public school that Vicky went to, it was yeah, it was it was something else.
But they can't
Anyways,
see what
that's
we see, so I could be right.
yeah, but if they know who Iron Maiden is, they would know that that answer was wrong. You're right. Audio listeners was the wrong thing to say. 100%. For the people watching on YouTube, wait, no. Wait, yes. Oh my God. Because I was like, wait, fine, they have a video, but they don't have to watch it. I I'm so sorry. I'm just very flustered with like the tech problem. Like I'm like out of my rhythm. So we'll see how this goes. Um but yeah, I was just gonna talk about the band very briefly.
Mm.
If I were to cover the history of the entire band, we would definitely need a separate episode. So If anybody is interested in that, let me know in the comments if you want me to do that, because I will gladly cover the history of the entire band. Um, then we're going to talk about the origins of Eddie himself. Um, and then his evolution. And evolution really is just us kind of looking at every single album cover to see how his look has changed. And then some of the album covers have like this fun little trivia or little tidbits. So I'll talk about those just because I think they're cool. And then there are two video games with Eddie in them. So I thought it would be cool to talk about those as well. And then the final thing is a couple fan theories for a story for him, because I want to preface this by saying that there is no official canon story for Eddie in Iron Maiden. Um, they didn't create him with that in mind. He's just their mascot. He is what they need him to be, and that's that. But fans just like to theorize on things, or you listen to music and interpret it different ways, and um look at the artwork and interpret it different ways. And I think you should be allowed to do that. And I think it's interesting. And a couple of these theories that I read about, I thought were kind of cool. So I'm just going to talk about them. Um, Before we go to the next slide, I just want to point out the Grim Reaper uh, hanging out here because he will come up in conversation again. So just think about him. And yeah, we'll get started. So, Iron Maiden is a English heavy metal band. Do
Dang, I was
you
close.
Yes, the England and Australia are very close on a map. Whew. Okay. Um anyways, so so hard to keep a straight face. So, they've actually been active since 1975. Well, the band was formed on Christmas Day in 1975. They performed in 1976, and their first album came out in 1980. So it was slow going in the beginning. But that means that they have been active for, oh my gosh, it's gonna be 50 years now. Fun fact, they are going on their 50th anniversary tour this year, 2025. So that's gonna be, they love going on tour,
Is
by the
it
way.
all
This is
the
a
original members still, or no?
no.
Okay.
So that's I'm glad you brought that up because I was gonna go on a tangent, so you brought me back. Um so because I was about to so the band has had a lot of member changes throughout the 50 years. Um Two of the members on this slide are the longest standing members and have existed throughout its entirety, but everybody else is like come and gone. So I'm just going to go from left to right. I'm going to give you their names. You're going to forget them.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even like I listened to the band. I didn't know. I only knew one person on this slide. I am horrible with artist names. Like I like to listen to a lot of like classic rock, heavy metal stuff like that. And of course the guitarists are really like famous, the bass players, the drummers, and I'm just like, "Oh, I don't know any of their names." So other fans are like, blasphemy, but I'm just bad with names, so I apologize. So, far left, Janik Gers, he plays guitar. Right next to him is Dave Murray. He also plays guitar. Then it's Bruce Dickinson. He's the singer. He's the guy that I knew. Um, Steve Harris plays bass. He's also done backup vocals sometimes, and he's also played piano. So he's done quite a lot. He's actually the founding member of Iron Maiden. Him and Dave Murray are the two longest standing members. So these are the ones that have been on every single album, which is a pretty impressive feat because they have a lot of albums. They have 41 albums.
God damn.
Seven, yeah, 17 of those are studio albums, 13 of those are live albums, 4 of those are EPs, and 7 compilation albums. Don't worry, we're only going to cover the 17 studio album covers. The others it would just be too much, I think. Even 17 is kind of a lot. So I'm not going to like go in depth on every single one cuz that would just take way too long. Moving forward, we have Adrian Smith who also plays guitar. That's right. They have 3 guitarists. This is heavy metal. I watched a YouTube video today because I got curious about the harmonies and such and how they do that. Um and It's kind of cool how they added a third. They didn't always have 3 guitarists, by the way. They had 2 typically. There was like some drama, and one of them left, and then he came back, and then they just ended up having 3, and they're like, fuck it, this works. Um, so yeah, Adrian, he does guitar. Sometimes he sings backup vocals, and then the drummer Nico McBrain is on the far right. So this is Iron Maiden. They've existed for a very long time. Um, they make awesome music. I have them on my socks. Can you see my socks?
Yep.
My friend got those for me for Christmas. Not this Christmas, but yeah, I I like the band a lot. They're pretty awesome. So we're going to talk about Eddie, their mascot. Where did Eddie come from? There we go. I clicked next slide, but it didn't do it. So the first version of Eddie was actually a mask made by an art student who was friends with the guy that did like the lighting, the pyrotechnics, and all like the effects for their live show. This guy's name was Dave Beasley. And according to him, the original mask was like a paper mache mold of his own face. And this is a really old picture. Obviously, late 70s, early 80s. It's going to be hard to find pictures of it. But you can see the mask in the top right,
Mhm.
and they would put it um, next to the logo, of course. And what they would do is at the very end of their set, they would play the song titled Iron Maiden, right? You got to end on a hype song. And what they would do is use this like fish tank pump, and it would squirt fake blood out of the mask's mouth and then land on they would like mostly land on the drummer because you can see where the drummer's sitting. He's right by it. At the time, the drummer was Doug Samson. So this is already like different band member. So yeah, this is the like original Eddie after this initial incarnation. Um, Beasley made like a bigger mask out of fiberglass, and it had flashing eyes and the ability to release red smoke from its mouth. So this is like the OGs. Now, where did the name come from? Because it's a pretty like interesting name. So this is just an early sketch of Eddie. I purposely chose a sketch where he didn't have a body because he was known as Eddie the Head. His full name is Edward the Head, Edward T. Head. And Steve Harris said that Eddie came from the original mask. They would just call it the Head. But since they're British, it sounds like Ed, because you know how like with British accents,
Mhm.
it sounds like it. So they would call it Ed. And then Dave Murray, the other longstanding member, said that there was a old like children's joke that inspired the full name. So you got the Ed part, and then this is the Eddie the Head part. So I'm gonna read the joke out to you, and please contain your laughter until the end. A wife had a baby, but it was born with only a head and no body. Don't worry, says the doctor. Bring him back in 5 years' time, and we'll probably have a body for him. So 5 years go by, and there's Eddie the Head, as his parents have called him, sitting on the mantelpiece when in walks his dad. Son, he says, today is a very special day. It's your 5th birthday, and we've got a very special surprise for you. Oh no, says Eddie. Not another fucking hat. End scene. Do you get it? Isn't it so funny?
I had a question.
Yeah. How dare you?
Now, you watched Stranger Things, right?
Yes.
Was that the song that Eddie played, was that a Metallica song or was it I don't remember.
Master of Puppets.
Yeah, that's
That's
Metallica.
Metallica.
Okay. Man,
Ugh,
they messed up
such
cuz
a casual.
they could have
No, I'm just kidding.
they could have cuz his name was Eddie and they could have played an Iron Maiden song
You
and
know, you know what's so funny? And I should have read these threads further, but I
mm,
was actually getting very annoyed with Reddit because I was trying to get more lore on Eddie,
mm,
and they were looking at lore of Eddie in Stranger Things, and I kept getting Stranger Things
mm.
lore. But he is a fan of Iron Maiden,
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
show.
but like that could have like been like a little
Yeah,
niche thing.
yeah, and actually, instead of Master of Puppets, I think if they played Hallowed Be Thy Name, it would sound pretty epic.
Yeah, I
Iron
totally
Maiden
know that
fans
song.
know what I'm talking. Iron Maiden fans know what I'm talking about. But it's like a because it's like Hallowed Be Thy Name is on their album um Hallowed Be Thy Name, which no, it's called The Number of the Beast, sorry.
I was gonna call
The
you
album's
fake
called The
fan.
Number of the Beast, and it's got the devil on the cover, and like it's very, yeah, it would just fit that scene because it's like he's like in what kind of looks like hell. I mean, it's not hell, but something like it, right? Um, but anyways, yeah, no, I think, and I should have read those threads, but I was just getting annoyed. I was like, no, I want to read about Eddie from Iron Maiden, not Stranger Things. It's like, oh, even Chat GPT. I asked Chat GPT because I was like, I want you to sift through this bullshit. It sends me a YouTube short of Eddie from Stranger Things, and I was like, no, I'm not joking. And there, my ChatGPT history is there. It sent me the thing, and I was like, "This is Eddie from Stranger Things." They're like, "Sorry, let me send you a different one." Sends me the same video. I was like, "This is the same video." Sorry, let me try again. Does the same thing a third time. I was like, "Please stop sending me this video." And then it finally stopped. It was useless, by the way. Not the video, just even the text it provided. I was like, "This is no help at all." I even asked for like an analysis, so one analysis of like some lyrics, and it gave me a lyric that was not even in the song. Because it was like this lyric from this song, and I was like, I know that song, and I don't remember seeing those lyrics in there. So me like gaslighting myself, I'm like, let me pull up the lyrics. Maybe I just like don't know this song, and I look and I go line by line, and I'm like, this isn't in here. So I like paste the entire lyrics in. I was like, these are the lyrics of that song, and ChatGPT's like, oh, so sorry for my mistake. I was like, what the how are people supposed to trust you? You sit on a throne of lies. Anyways, um, yeah, did you get the joke?
No.
Do you want me to explain it to you?
Mhm.
Because I'll admit, I didn't understand it when I first heard it. I was like, what the fuck? But you have to remember, like, in the 70s, they were already older men, right? Like 20s or 30s, I guess 40s. I don't know
I
when
was
they
gonna
actually
say I'm
started.
in my 30s. Are you saying?
No, but I'm saying like this is 75. They're talking about an old joke in 1975
Mm.
for context, right? So like an old joke back then is even older now, right?
Yeah,
Just by like,
but if it's a good joke, it's timeless.
well, they thought it was so funny that they named Eddie their mascot after it. So, well, so basically the joke is he said not another fucking hat because when you have a head and no body, there's only so many gifts that a person can give you, and that's
Earrings.
hats.
Oh.
Because he can't give you anything else. What else are you?
Earrings.
Huh? He's a
Earrings.
guy.
So
Yeah,
piercings.
but this is like 75. So they're
Yeah.
gonna pierce his entire face. You're gonna run out of. He's also 5 years old.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the 5-year-old part.
Hey, for your fifth birthday, we're getting you a septum piercing. How about that, Eddie? How do you like
I had
that?
my ears pierced before I was 5.
I didn't say ears. I said septum. There's a difference.
And he has hair. They could have like, done hair dye or some trinkets in there.
Oh,
It's the
this isn't
70s.
5-year-old. This isn't 5-year-old Eddie. This is just a picture of Eddie.
Yeah, but I'm assuming Eddie had hair, no?
Maybe he was a bald baby,
Well,
a
according to
bald
my
child.
nephew, he's not a baby anymore and he's 5.
Oh, he's all grown up.
Yeah.
He
We're like,
understands
"You're a
it.
baby." He's like, "No, I'm not."
Like, all right, start paying taxes then,
Right?
son.
Okay, we're gonna split the of the house
Split the
bills.
bills.
Yeah.
Like, all right, here's your we got you an interview with McDonald's. Start going. So yeah, but that's the joke is the hat thing. He's like, "Oh, not another hat."
Oh, I
Oh,
thought there'd be
jeez.
more to, like, I understood that part because he didn't have a body, but I
Oh
thought
no,
there was
that's
an
it.
actual funny part.
That is the funny part. God, no sense of humor this one. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so Eddie the Head, that's where that came from a joke and then their accents. And now the design that you saw in the first slide, because the first iteration was really simple. It's just a mask. And we have to kind of bridge this gap to the what you see on my shirt and all this other stuff. So
Hmm.
all the stuff you saw on that slide. So Iron Maiden got a record deal with EMI, and their manager, his name is Rod Smallwood. He's going to be referenced a couple times throughout this presentation, but he decided the band needed, a figure that they can put on the album cover or something to like really pop. So he set up a meeting with this guy, Derek Riggs. Picture of him on this slide. He is an illustrator. He saw some of his other artwork on a poster, and yeah, he designed the Eddie. This is an early drawing of Eddie. Derek standing with it, and then here's a one off to the right, just so you could see it a bit better.
Hmm.
Um,
It's awesome.
Originally the idea, yeah, yeah, it's cool. Eddie's really cool. To be honest, like of all the mascots from metal bands, he is the most famous. Like, because you don't even know Iron Maiden, but I'm sure you've seen Eddie
Hmm.
before
Yeah.
on like shirts and stuff. Because he's just known like no other mascot comes close. I think. Yeah, he's just iconic in that way. So originally this was going to be like a punk or idea for like a punk record. Um, but since Iron Maiden is metal, they added more hair because that's like a thing with heavy metal bands is like they have the long hair. It's
Hmm.
just like the style that it was, in the 80s. And um they transferred the name over because they had the existing name of Eddie, and Smallwood decided like we're gonna use him for all the band's artwork, and the rest is history. Like that's truly like the origin, the lore of Eddie is like that's where it came from. Um, and yeah, I mean, Derek even has a website where he has like all of his artwork and stuff published, and he has his Iron Maiden, like the original sketches and stuff like that. I thought it was really cool. And he has little trivia on his site. So if anyone that's listening is like a fan and wants to get some more like little random trivia about Eddie, I'll sprinkle a couple of it in this presentation. But I just thought it was cool. So another aspect of Eddie was on stage, so I want to talk about that just briefly. Um, Supposedly, EMI had a managing director. His name was Rupert Perry. He had this idea that like Eddie should be more active in the concerts. So supposedly, Smallwood himself would wear like the Eddie mask and leather jacket. I found this old picture. It's from a poster. But there's Eddie in, front and center. Steve Harris is actually right next to him. Um, and yeah, he would just like walk on stage. Now, this also evolved. Dave Beasley, the guy we talked about not that long ago, he saw like a version of Jack and the Beanstalk where he saw like, the guys on stilts,
Hmm.
that they're like super tall. He saw that and decided to do that with Eddie, like make him bigger. So he would walk, they call it walk on Eddie because he would literally walk on stage with the stilts and he'd be really big. And then depending on the tour and depending on the album, Um, that's how Eddie would look. So one of the albums that we're going to talk about is like Egyptian themed. So they had a huge like mummy Eddie, but this one was like 30 feet tall. It was fucking huge. And he would like shoot sparks out of its eyes, and it was pretty cool. So their stage um presence is phenomenal. Like, I saw them 2 years ago, and I'd see them again. Like, I'm amazed. They love going on tour. They had a tour, gosh, I wish I remembered the exact fact, but they were, like, touring for, like, most of the year. Like, I think that it said that they had performed, like, 200 something days out of the 365 days in the year,
Damn.
which is insane. Insane. Like, they go on tour a lot. Um when I saw them, they dropped down the Fear of the Dark album cover, which we're gonna look at in a little bit, and like they had the flag, the British flag, and Eddie came on, and I was just like, God damn, like these guys just they go hard. So, and they're gonna do their other tour, their 50th anniversary tour, and I'm sure that's gonna be super epic too. Man, I should go to that. Anyways, we're gonna talk about the album covers now, how Eddie looks on all of those. So his debut appearance was actually on their first single. It was called Running Free. You have a picture of it right here. And they purposely didn't show his face. They covered his face with shadow off to the left, so they wouldn't like kind of spoil the surprise of how he looked before the release of the first band or first album. Um, so yeah, simple cover. And after that, they had their first album. You remember that sketch that we looked at? Now he's
Mm.
got a little body to match. This is how I look in the mornings a lot of the time. Um, Iron Maiden's first album is called Iron Maiden. It's self-titled, came out in 1980. Um, not much to talk about in this album cover, but I did want to talk about some singles that came out around this time because the cover art is pretty interesting. The one off to the right is from their single called Sanctuary. And that is Eddie standing over Margaret Thatcher. She unfortunately decided to take an Iron Maiden poster and tear it down, and Eddie's like, "You can't do that." So he killed her. This album cover was or not album, sorry. This single cover was very controversial because Margaret Thatcher, do you know who she is?
No. I've
Oh,
heard
she's
her
a
name.
prime yeah, she's the prime minister of England for a while.
Ah, okay.
She was also like a politician, prime minister. So she had a lot of conservative policies, but yeah, to have that on your album cover is pretty insane.
Mm-hmm.
And the manager Smallwood, he was like, "Oh, let's like, put a little like black bar over her eyes so it seems like she's censored and it'll draw some more attention." And it did. I mean, like no press is bad press, right? So when you put out a cover like this, like people are going to talk about it, and they did. There was a newspaper headline that was like I'm going to read it in my newspaper voice. "It's murder. Maggie gets rock mugging. Hot off the presses."
All
Don't
right,
you love
I'm gonna go.
doing this podcast with
I'm gonna
me?
go. It's been
Don't you
nice,
love it though?
guys.
Thank you guys. I'm here all week.
Let me react with an emote.
Cringe? Is there a cringe emote? Can I cringe?
No, sadly,
Um,
boo.
I think my impression was pretty good. But anyways, if anybody wants to hire me for voice acting, I'm available. Please.
Please, I'm hungry.
It's murder. Oh my god. Um, so and it even made it to the parliament. So there was like a spokesman in the parliament that was like, "This is not the way we'd like her to be portrayed. I'm sure she would not like it," which, of course, brought even more um attention to it. Um they didn't change anything about it. One interesting thing about this is Margaret Thatcher was known to be called like the Iron Lady because of her policies. So I thought that was an interesting parallel, but also a video I saw said that she's also been referred to as the Iron Maiden, but I've never seen anything confirming that. So I thought it was just speculation. But Iron Lady is like a for sure thing. Also, coincidentally, around the same time that this release came out, several prominent conservative politicians were being attacked by disgruntled members of the public. So I just thought that timing was
Oh.
like, whoa, coincidence? I don't know. But Margaret gets her revenge. In this other cover off to the left, the song is called Women in Uniform. Margaret's waiting for Eddie to come around the corner so she can shoot him. He's walking with a nurse and a schoolgirl. And this cover also had some controversy, not because of Margaret Thatcher, but because of the women. So apparently some feminists were demonstrating outside of a or demonstrating against an Iron Maiden show in 1980. So, yeah,
Mm.
shame on Eddie for being such a womanizer. Um, but the second album cover is right off to the right. It's called Killers. It's actually the one I have on my shirt. Um, but you could see like the early instances of Eddie are pretty simple, like jeans and t-shirt guy, kind of zombie looking. This third album, The Number of the Beast, the one I was talking about, there's definitely quite a bit to talk about with this cover. So this album was also the one that really like helped them blow up. Because the album's amazing. I was listening to it just today. Um, it's just chef's kiss. But anyways, when this came out, of course, this is came out in 1982. Um there's Eddie controlling Satan like like a marionette. And I did not notice this, but Satan is also controlling a little person. And I didn't notice this until literally 2 days ago. And I own this album and I was like, "Oh, I didn't even pay attention to it." But when this came out, oh, also, when they were designing this was actually going to be the cover for their single. It was called Purgatory, but they're like, "No, this is way too good to be just a single cover. Like, let's just make it the whole album cover." Um, when it was released, there was a conservative group associated with the Christian right and Republicans called the Moral Majority, and they deemed Iron Maiden to be Satanists, and they organized public burnings of their back catalog in the US, which obviously gave them a lot of publicity. Um, the cover itself was inspired by a Doctor Strange comic book. So supposedly it was like a one where Doctor Strange had a villain dangling from like strings like a little puppet, and the images of hell came from Derek Riggs's knowledge of medieval European Christian art. By the way, Derek Riggs does all the album art up until a point, and you as an artist will definitely be able to see like the shift in style, I think, because he definitely has like a distinct style with Eddie, how he draws Eddie.
Mm.
And then when you see other artists doing it, you're like, oh, okay, I can see it. Um, and Satan was supposed to have wings made out of lightning and smoke. You can kind of see them a little bit, but Derek had some time constraints, so he couldn't finish it. He also made Satan look like Salvador Dali as a joke, just because. The next album, Peace of Mind, came out a year later in 1983. Um, Eddie looks a lot different. He's in a padded cell. He's chained up. He even has like a little, his hair is all gone. It looks like they looked at his brain. So, rough times for Eddie. There is some cool little like hidden trivia with this album on the sixth song of the album. It's called Still Life. They put in a hidden message in the song that you can only hear if you play it backwards. And the whole purpose of this message was actually to be a joke, but to also swing back at the critics that called Iron Maiden Satanists. They accuse them of being satanic. So the joke, kind of interesting. I didn't really understand it myself, but I'm just glad that they did something. I think that was just a cool thing to do. So it's a Nico McBrain, the drummer, doing an impression. He's doing an impression of a British actor who does an impression of of a Ugandan president, which is like quite a lot because I read the sentence and it was like Nico McBrain mimicking actor John Bird's impression of Idi Amin, and I was like, I only know one of those names. I don't know who all these other people are, so I had to like look it up and figure out who they are. Um, but he does this little impression where it's like, "Who ho said the ting with the tree bounce? Don't meddle with things you don't understand." And then he burps, and the phrase is like from an actual album which collected a bunch of broadcasts of this president. But the whole, even if you don't understand like what he's saying, the joke is like, if you guys are gonna be stupid about us being like about us and calling us Satanists, then we're gonna give you something to be, really stupid about. Like, screw you, we'll just do some stupid shit. And that's how they responded. And I just thought that was kind of cool because I didn't know that. I own this album and I never noticed that. So I'll have to play a rec. Can I play records backwards? You know what? Don't answer that question. Next album.
Uh,
Are you still there?
yeah, I was gonna say, isn't it?
Oh,
Can't you? You can play it backwards.
I don't think you can. I'm just being special today. Um, so Powerslave. This came out in 1984. This is the Egyptian one. I think you would like this a lot because
Yeah, it
it's
looks
got,
cool.
yeah, it's cool as hell. And there are some hidden images in this. Um, but they're really hard to see, and I couldn't find a good close up of this album. So I'm just gonna point out a couple. There's like a drawing of Mickey Mouse here. Can you see my cursor, by the
Yeah, I
way?
can see a cursor. I'm trying to see the
Okay.
Mickey Mouse.
It's really hard to see.
Mm.
And then here it says Indiana Jones was here in 1941. Here is like a cartoon. Somewhere over here, Bollocks is written in the hieroglyphs. I can't remember where. But yeah, this is a really cool album cover. And this is a complete shift because Eddie is no longer, his kind of like zombie looking look. It's more of the mummy, right? Or like the
Mm.
pharaoh. So I thought that was pretty cool. And this one also on the back cover, supposedly there's a picture of the Grim Reaper. And Derek Riggs would sometimes sprinkle in pictures of the Grim Reaper around Eddie. He likes to like put in these little Easter egg thingies. Now, you don't see it in a lot of album covers. Well, I think it was some of the other album covers, not the studio albums. But I thought that was kind of cool that he would sprinkle that in. And that picture that you saw on the outline slide with the Grim Reaper, that's a Derek Riggs illustration.
Mm.
So it also makes sense. Um, and you also see the Grim Reaper on this album cover. This one is gnarly. So this album is called Somewhere in Time. It came out in 1986. There are a ton of fun little Easter eggs in here. I'm gonna only go over a couple because if we went over them all,
Is that
it would take
Doctor
up a
Who?
lot of. It is! That was one of the ones I wanted to talk about. It's the TARDIS. I was
Yeah.
like, she's gonna see it. Yeah, so this one, they also put this on the cover of one of their singles called Wasted Years. So yeah, we can actually go left to right. So this Grim Reaper, he's really hard to see, but
Yeah, I'm
he's
trying.
right there. Right here. Do you see my cursor?
Yeah, I see a cursor, but it just looks
It's a
like nothing.
shadow.
Oh,
Yeah, and I can't zoom in, unfortunately, but he's there.
okay.
That's him. Of course, the pyramids are a reference to Powerslave. 2358, 2 minutes to midnight. That's the name of one of their songs. So that's the reference there. Right here, it's really small, but it says Phantom Opera House. They have a song called Phantom of the Opera. Here, this is a reference to their song called Flight of Icarus. And According to Derek Riggs, he said that this Icarus is supposed to look like the logo used by Swan Song Records. This is the label founded by Led Zeppelin.
Mm.
So if anybody knows Led Zeppelin, you can kind of tell this art style very much like Led Zeppelin. Um, this Eye of Horus, also a reference to Powerslave. Webster is actually the last name of EMI's art director. So that was a cool little tidbit. This is Derek Riggs' signature. You just can't see it very well. But when he signs his artwork, he signs it like this. We'll go back to that slide because this right here, this is the same lamp pole and trash can that you see in the first album
Mm.
right here. And this place, this is a real place. So on his website, Derek actually shows like the Google Maps location here in London, and it's the same thing. And then this also, this backdrop is close to where he lived at the time. So that's where the inspiration came from. And for Derek's, let's see, was it this slide? Yeah, see this little, this is how he likes to sign. That's
Mm.
his like little logo. So that's what you see on Eddie's chest in this album. It's just very hard to see. I wanted you to be able to see the full thing because it's really cool. Oh
Mm.
yeah, uh, Acacia, Acacia Avenue. That's 22 Acacia Avenue is the song. Um one of their older albums, The Number of the Beast, I think it was. And then there's Iron Maiden, first the first Eddie, and it says Eddie lives. So yeah, there's a lot of cool like little Easter eggs in here. If I ever find this vinyl, I'm buying it so I can like look at it. Um, but yeah, this is Cyborg Eddie. He looks very cool, very futuristic. Um, the next album is called Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Um, this one is came out in 1988, and it's pretty cool because the idea for this album cover. So there's two versions of where this idea came from. So I'll go over both. The first one is in relations to our last episode where we talked about Dante's Inferno and Hosier. So if
Inferno.
you haven't Inferno, my brain is broken today. So I just want to apologize to everyone. Like, I don't know why I'm so off, but I'm off my game and we're just along for the ride. So, like, because my thoughts are coming out faster than my mouth can say them.
That's how
And
it was
that's
for
why
me
I'm,
last week.
yeah, uh, it's okay. I'm trying my best. Uh, Dante's Inferno. Supposedly, Derek Riggs saw a piece of art from some guy named Gustave Doré, but it depicted the traders frozen in the lake in the ninth circle of Dante's Inferno. So it's like, oh my gosh, what a small world. We just talked about that not that long ago. Um, the other story is that Derek Riggs says that he watched a documentary about the North Pole recently and he wanted to like do a different scenery because he had only done like cities before,
Mm.
whether it be like, London or like Egypt or, futuristic. So he wanted something totally different. So he put the eddies on ice, which you can see in the back cover here. Eddie himself, he was also like, I didn't feel like drawing Eddie all the way, so I lobotomized him. But I kept the cyborg elements. He also made this little utero baby, and this apple was inspired by the Garden of Eden. Um, and this actually, Eddie's head on fire is inspired by a man named Arthur Brown, who is, I can't remember if he's a British comedian or actor. I think he's just a comedian. But I just looked up Arthur Brown hair on fire and I saw images of him like on stage and his like head would be on fire. So I guess it would be like a bit that he would do. But yeah, that's where that came from. So thought that was kind of cool. Um, and a bit different. Going to the next album, total 180. So this is still by Derek Riggs, by the way.
Mm.
So this album is No Prayer for the Dying, came out in 1990. Doesn't follow any of the continuity at all because we kind of started with like Eddie t-shirt and jeans, then Eddie, controlling Satan, Eddie in an insane asylum, Eddie in Egypt, Eddie in future space, Eddie lobotomized on ice, and now he's like coming out of a grave. So totally different thing. There's two versions of this cover. The 1990 version's on the left, the 1998 version's on the right. The 1990 version, the guy that he's strangling supposedly looks like Rod Smallwood, their manager. He asked to be removed for the 1998 re-release, so maybe he didn't like that he was on there. So the re-release looks a little different. They also added an inscription here, which says, "After daylight, the night of pain, that is not dead, which can rise again." Um, so yeah,
Hmm.
two versions. I don't know which I like more. I think I like this one more, the re-release.
I like. I wish the real release was choking the person because the original one, the eyes throw me off.
Yeah, I like the red eyes.
Yeah.
If he had the red eyes, and yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Now we're gonna get into the first cover that Derek Riggs did not make, and it was this Fear of the Dark cover that the album came out in 1992. There's a little bit of drama here. Supposedly, Derek Riggs submitted like 20 sketches to Steve Harris, and all of them were rejected. He made Eddie look like a werewolf, like a vampire, like a monster leaning over the foot of a bed. And Riggs got frustrated and said, "Find somebody else." He was on the phone. I think he was on the phone with Rod Smallwood. He's like, "Find someone else." Hung up and then would not work with the band for a while. So they had to find someone else. They found Melvin Grant, who is, after Derek, he's the second most used artist, I think, for all the album covers. So they wanted, because they were going into the 90s, they wanted something a little bit more edgy, not too comic book like, kind of scary. I think it looks cool as hell. Like, of all the ones that Melvin did, I think this is definitely my favorite, because it looks so spooky.
Mm.
um and he also did the one for X Factor. I don't have anything to say about this one. It's just very
Bad.
different.
Oh.
I wouldn't even say bad. It's just kind of like off-putting, I guess.
Mm.
But eh, it is what it is. X Factor came out in 1995. Then we have Virtual 11. This came out in 1998. Another Melvin Grant. You see, you could tell, like, it looks very different. Like, all of
Yeah.
these are very different. They're not so much how Derek Riggs would do it. Like this, Brave New World. I saw this, I was like, Derek Riggs. Like, it, because as I was going through this, I was like, I'm starting to,
Mm.
pick up on these things. And sure enough, Brave New World came out in 2000. Derek Riggs did the top half. The bottom half was done by a digital artist named Steve Stone. And you can tell because it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. And speaking of digital art, we get to talk about this album cover.
Oh.
Ah, there is a story here. Uh, so this album's called Dance of Death. It came out in 2003. The artist for this was David Patchett. Now, his original sketch was this one on the right. Eddie looking like death, four monks. Rod Smallwood said, "Well, it's a little empty." And I think that's fair. If you look at their previous covers, there's a lot of details. There's a
Mm.
lot of things that you can look at and notice, and this one's a bit simpler. Adding all these CGI components, not sure that was the best move. So there's two stories that I heard. The one that I have on my slide is that um that basically Rod Smallwood hired someone from IronMaiden.com to design these characters around Eddie. They used some program called Poser, and they gave this rough draft back to Patchett, asked him to like work on the textures, and he didn't like how he was like not very happy with this result and said, "Please take my name off of this," because his name is not on the credits for
Mm.
this album. The other version I heard was on a YouTube video. This guy covered this album, and he said that Hatchet did this, but was like so like, oh, this is such trash. I don't. Or I think Steve Harris said he liked it, and Patchett was like, no, this is trash. Please don't put my name on it. So I see the IronMaiden.com story floating around more than the other story, but yeah, the more you look at it, the worse it gets. By far, this is like voted as their worst album cover. Even Bruce Dickinson, the vocalist, was like, I don't blame him for not wanting to put his name on this. Like,
Mm.
uh, yeah, I, I'm just not gonna talk about it more because
Next.
thank you. Next. Then we get into A Matter of Life and Death. This came out in 2006. This was created by a man named Tim Bradstreet. He's an American artist, and he's known to work on the Hellblazer and Punisher comics. And I feel
Mm.
like that makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
giving the military vibe. Um, he is a major Iron Maiden fan. He was given like a couple songs to listen to as a reference, and came up with this cover. Eddie is the general, and he's got his skeletal army. He said the tank was inspired by like the Korean War with a twist. So yeah, pretty cool looking. And then we get into The Final Frontier, which came out in 2010, and this is my next to. Actually, this one I kind of like don't hate because of how like cursed it is. Like I'm like I can laugh at this. This one I when I first saw this, I had to look up this. I was like this isn't Eddie. I was like this is somebody else.
Mm.
Because one thing that I had come to know is that Eddie shows up on every album cover. So I was like what happened here? Why isn't he on the cover? No, this is supposed to be Eddie.
Mm.
Um Another Melvin Grant artwork, but he's more like monster sci-fi. It's very different. Polarizing. I think a lot of people are also not fans, but there's a couple that are like, I like it. So everybody's different. I personally, I don't like it just because I don't think it looks like Eddie. I
Mm.
think it looks maybe the eyes, but beyond that, like it's a bit different. Although the cover itself is pretty cool. Um, like concept wise, it's a cool like sci-fi creepy. Last two albums, Book of Souls and Senjutsu. So Book of Souls came out in 2015. The guy that made this cover is actually Mark Wilkinson. He worked on artwork for Judas Priest. They're also another metal band. So Steve Harris said he wanted something simple for this cover, and it makes me wonder if like he said that because of
That.
all these past ones. He's like, let's just keep it basic. I don't know. It just makes me wonder. But yeah, Eddie's a Mayan warrior in this one. Um,
See,
the
Eddie has
tribal,
his ears pierced.
yeah. Well, he's not 5 years old anymore, and he has a body. There's a lot of differences here. You really held on to this ear piercing thing for so long. uh, those tribal markings are completely generic. They're just made up. Um, Senjutsu came out in 2021, not that long ago. The Japanese version or the Japanese writing is on the right, Senjutsu, and then it's just like, Japanese looking. But yeah, this is Eddie as a um
You got
samurai.
this. Yeah.
I did it all by myself. Half a brain cell. Mark Wilkinson did this one as well. So, yeah, really cool. These are all the album covers. Do you have a favorite that you can remember out of all of them?
That I
Off
can
first
remember,
impressions?
no, but
I'm cycling through them quickly. This one,
I
of
like the
course.
yeah, that one. No, I like these two ones. And
This one?
I like the one on the left. Oh, wait, oh, where are you?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
On the left,
Yeah.
and then the last two, the newer ones.
Yeah. I think they're pretty sick.
Mm.
I like a shirt of this or
Mm.
this one. They're sick. They did a good job. I really like. Not that you asked, but I'll tell you anyways. I like this one. I like the Killers one a lot. That's probably why I have a shirt of it. I love this one.
Mm.
Like I think that one is so cool. And I really like this one because there's just so much in it. And this one.
And
Brave
that
New
one.
World is
Oh,
really
you missed
cool.
it. That. Oh, nope. Go back. Oh, nope. Keep going forward. Forward.
Forward.
Yeah. Up, up, stop. Ah.
This one has a special place in my heart. Um, because like I don't know, like this kid. How are you standing on the dog? Like this, not a woman, not a man. Uh, I don't. Oh, I don't know. This, you gotta pay the troll toll to get into the boys' hole. Like, what? And he's wearing pants. No one else is wearing pants. Or she? I don't even. What is happening? Anyways, we're gonna talk about the video games now.
Okay.
This was gonna be a shorter episode, and I don't know what happened. I got too excited, I guess. So there's two video games. Um, that we're going to talk about. So this one is called Ed Hunter. It came out in 1999. You play as a detective named Ed Hunter, very creative, and you are tasked with finding Eddie. So you go through like the different levels um to find him, break him out of jail, and then you're like walk cuz he's as you can tell he's like kind of chained up, but you kind of help him escape. And then you're walking through all the levels. Do you know what a rail shooter is in terms of like types
No.
of video games?
No.
So, very simple concept, a rail shooter. Imagine you're Oh, have you been to like Disney or something like that? Where, like,
No.
the ride has or any sort of, like, ride where you're, like, on a track. Wait, we did that thing in, Sweden, where it was, like, that history ride, and we're,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
on a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
track. So, it's the same concept where you're, like, on a rail, and you have a destined path, so you can't stray from that path. A lot of old games did this where, like, you can kinda move your camera, you're like, your camera's moving, it's like, "Oh, the enemy's there, choo, choo, choo. Your enemy's there, choo, choo." So, it's like you're on this path. You can, in this game, like, choose left or right, but there's a set path that you take, and that's why they call it rail shooter because you're like on a rail, almost like a railroad track. Um, that's what this game was. You have the set track. You go through the different levels that are based on the album cover. So like there's like an Egypt level, a futuristic level, um, and you also can choose the music that's playing in the background. But you can only play one song per track or one song per level, so it can get a bit repetitive.
Mm.
The game, people didn't really like it. Uh, well, I saw a couple people that really liked it, but the general consensus was people didn't really like it. I think it was just because of like the gameplay, the music thing bothered them, but also like it was 1999 and real shooters were more of like a thing in like the early 90s. So it was kind of late. But still a game with Eddie in it. Um, so it was interesting that you get to like play alongside him. Not a lot of bands will like make video games, so I
Mm.
just wanted to bring it up because I thought it was kind of cool. There is another game. It's called Legacy of the Beast, and it's a mobile game. So it's a turn-based strategy game. You can get it on iOS and Android. It came out in July 2016, and unfortunately, I saw a Facebook post that they are closing down their servers at the end of this year. Or
It's
they
closed.
closed them down 2 days ago. So, that's a really long time for a mobile game.
Mm.
I'm kind of surprised. Like, but that's a good thing. The premise of this game is pretty simple. It's you play as Eddie. So Eddie gets confronted by a mysterious force that shatters his soul into all the various aspects of Eddie that fans are familiar with in Iron Maiden lore. Eddie falls to Earth in a weakened state, and he gets guidance from a woman that reveals herself to be the clairvoyant. She's right here, off to the left. and it appears that an evil cult has summoned him from the sky in an effort to deliver him to their master. Eddie has to fight through hordes of the cult to reach it and confront whoever is behind the evil trap. Spoiler alert, it's this guy, known as the Beast, who kind of looks like the devil. But it's kind of cool. I watched a little bit of gameplay of this because I was, of course, curious about it. And you can get different Eddies, and there's like 37 Eddies total, which is pretty intense. But they all have like different abilities,
Mm.
and you fight through the game. And reading some like forums and posts about it, people seem to really like it. The people that have been playing. So, um, if there were ever to be like a canon story for Eddie, I feel like this is the closest thing. Because you get to play as Eddie. You get to like travel, through different times and dimensions. And yeah, so pretty cool. They have a second game. And there is a third game, but it never came to be. And I want to talk about it because there's not a lot of information about this game out there. So I kind of fell into another rabbit hole looking about it. So, um, back in the day, we know about this because we're old now. Um, when like you'd get a CD and like, or any sort of like media or something, they'd put stickers or some sort of advertisement like coming soon, this next thing.
Mm.
So there's this CD. It was a compilation, Best of the Beast. They had this sticker here, and it would say available soon. Melt. Eddie's own 3D state of the art computer game. Ooh, ah. So this was gonna be what Ed Hunter replaced this. So this game was gonna come out like spring or summer 1997. But it never happened. So the game was supposed to be like Tomb Raider style. On the Melt website, the premise says that Eddie challenges the player to the ultimate in strategy, sleuth, and survival. Traveling through 15 different worlds spanning 2 million years, your objective is to seek and destroy Eddie's energy pods scattered around the universe before he destroys it all. Eddie's powers have been coded into 11 pods, which have been scattered throughout time. Ooh. So you get to um, travel through the different worlds, similar to Ed Hunter, but an old GIF shows that it was going to be an FPS game. It was like an old GIF of like some early design of the game. Um, there was even a hyperspace level, so you could seem like you were piloting a ship. Um, what happened to the game? Well, all I saw was on the Iron Maiden website. They originally pushed it back due to technical problems. And then in September 1997, they scrapped the game entirely and called it crap. So it never came to be. The picture on the right hand side of the slide is like, you remember like older magazines, like gaming magazines.
Mm.
So this was advertised in the magazine. But what's interesting is like this says computer game and this says PlayStation. So that was another thing I was like, were they gonna do it on the PlayStation or PC or both or what's going on? This also says 1996. So they ended up pushing it back to 19. So they were having a lot of problems. They're having a lot of problems with this game, and it never came to be. There's a good YouTube video on this. There's a woman that goes over this in its entirety, and she did like a ton of research on it. And that's what I watched, and I was like, huh, that's really interesting. And another fun difference between this game and the Ed Hunter game, instead of playing Iron Maiden music all throughout, supposedly the Iron Maiden music play would only play if you're about to die or running out of time on a certain level. So just a fun like piece of Eddie history that not a lot of people know about. Um, I thought that was kind of interesting. And it's like hard to find this information because it's like late 90s. So
Mm.
it's early internet. I saw she was using the Wayback Machine to like pull up the old site and see what was written on there. So, um anyways, we're close to the end. This picture might haunt your nightmares. I don't know. Um I have two fan theories
Mm.
that I wanted to talk about that I thought were interesting. There's a couple others that were thrown around. There's not a The thing is there's like a couple of them thrown around. Um some of them I was like, "Eh," but these were the ones that I thought were like the most well thought out, so I want to bring them up. Again, these are just theories. They're both from the same Reddit post. Um, so yeah, the first one is that he was a street punk. So Eddie used to be a street punk. He ended up becoming a murderer. This got him in hell. He killed Satan and then took control of hell, but nobody believed him. And the rest of the albums are made up as he sits in his cell in the Peace of Mind cover. That's the one where he's like, like
Mm.
this. Now, I like this theory, but I also thought there was a bit of a gap because I'm like, okay, but he took control of hell. Nobody believed him. And then he's in a cell all of a sudden. So, like, how did he get into the cell? So I filled in the gaps because I like to theorize. So this is my thought. And again, this is all made up. My theory is that after Eddie defeats Satan and he claims dominion over hell, his rebellion disrupts the natural balance, right? Because like demons are very they like to cause chaos. They do respect Satan, but they don't respect Eddie. And they eventually conspire against him, have a coup, start a coup, do the coup. They do the coup. I don't know how you properly say that. But Eddie gets, weakened, he's outnumbered. The demons imprison him on Earth as a mortal punishment, and they lock him away in an asylum. And that's how he loses his throne. That's how I filled in those gaps. But again, this is all made up. I know it's not real. So don't come at me, okay? Let me dream. Let me have some hope in my life. Anyways, I think that that got dark. I think that the songs, so I could like go over all the lyrics that prove this theory, but that would just take way too long, so I'm not going to do that. I think it's better to just talk about the theme. So like the Iron Maiden songs, like the albums have these themes of like punishment, the afterlife, madness, the struggle between good and evil. So I think all of those kind of lumped in together help make this theory seem realistic. The second theory is this is a cool piece of artwork. This is
Yeah.
someone on DeviantArt did this. Um, I don't remember who, but it looks really cool. And good job, that person. Um, just the worst. I'm sorry. So Eddie, the second theory is that Eddie is the incarnation of true humanity throughout time, not the idealistic humanity that we see in philosophy, but humanity as it really is. And this person goes over several Eddies. So I'm going to read off what they said because I think I could have like added on to it, but I added on a couple Eddies myself, but like the way that they said it I think was pretty well said, so I'm not going to like, change up their wording. So the original Iron Maiden, the first album, Eddie, the theme is like a commoner lost in the world without a soul. Killer's Eddie is the rage at society and the inability for the common man to bring change without radical intervention. Number of the Beast Eddie is coming to terms with our darker side, knowing it's a necessity for survival, but we do have the means to control it. Peace of Mind Eddie, I like this one a lot. The helpless rage we feel when society has become so sick and insane that we, the normal ones, are seen as crazy.
Mood.
Yeah, I love it. Power Slave Eddie, the realization that all we thought was so important may not last, instead a hollow effigy of what was real. Also mood. Somewhere in time, Eddie, our struggle throughout the technological revolution and our urge to adapt, only to realize that the technology changed us.
Yep.
Seventh Son Eddie. Yeah, a lot of these are I was like, damn, he's cooking. Seventh Son Eddie, our core torn asunder, yet a mystical hope for rebirth and reconciliation. I'm like, damn. So I added two more. I did Virtual 11 Eddie and Brave New World Eddie. So Virtual 11 Eddie I thought was like similar to Somewhere in Time Eddie, where it's embodying humanity's increasing detachment from the real world due to like virtual technology, social media, and digital lives. And I feel like that applies today a lot.
Mm.
Even though Virtual 11 came out in 1998, but I still feel like it's relevant. Brave New World. To end on a positive note, because a lot of these were a little dark, because humanity's a bit dark. Brave New World can represent humanity's potential for growth and the possibility to transcend past flaws. And yeah, I could cover the rest of the albums, but that would be a lot. And I think I've already went way over my. I was like, oh, this will be short. Yeah, I don't have too much to say, she says.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I just thought it was so interesting. And there's all this like fun trivia that I didn't know. And I wanted to share it. Is that so wrong?
Nerd.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I hope you learned about Eddie and Iron Maiden and the artwork.
Yeah, Eddie from
Thought
Stranger Things.
I'm trying to practice my breathing exercises. Can you guys hear it?
No.
All around me are familiar. Yeah, so I think it's cool. I'm excited. Oh, I gotta sneeze. Ah, I can't do it. Ah, I hate it. Ah, I hate that. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're an Iron Maiden fan, comment on your favorite album cover or least favorite or favorite trivia. Just comment. I love seeing when other nerds comment on this stuff. I get so excited. Like the Zelda episodes were great because it was like, here's my theory. And I'm like, oh, let's go. Let's talk about it. And Vicky's just looking and she's like
I'm just like, yeah.
shaking her head at us nerds nerding out. Oh yeah, and if you want me to cover Iron Maiden as a whole, I'd be happy to do that. It's 50 years. That's crazy. They've been shredding
50
for so
years.
long and they have so much energy. Usually bands from that time are all like dead now or not in great shape, like Ozzy Osbourne, for example, because of all the drugs that they do.
Hmm.
But this band was pretty. Them and Metallica. Metallica too, because I think the lead singer of Metallica, I don't think he did any drugs or anything. Because he looks great. I think he's like 60 or something. I'm gonna look it up. I just want to see because I'm a little curious. Metallica lead singer, Metallica. And I forgot his name because again, I don't remember these things. He was born in 1963. He's 61. He still looks, dude. So I've been like thinking about tattoos more, and I was like, but what about when I get old and I just see him and he still looks really cool?
Yeah, exactly. I could have told you that.
Yeah, I know. But I have to decide on something, and that's the problem.
Get Rocky tattooed on
Yo,
you.
my king, Rocky with a crown.
Yeah.
I want him mean mugging too. Should I get it on my forehead?
Yeah. Get it.
I've been thinking about sleeves.
Of what?
Well, back in the day, I wanted sleeves of Star Wars, one Jedi arm, one Sith arm. But I think the Sith are a lot cooler. So I actually like figured out placement and everything for the Sith arm. It didn't take me very long at all. I was like, oh yeah, and I'll put this there. And when I got to the Jedi arm, I was like, Ahsoka, I guess. It's like, man, they're kind of lame. Plus, I'd want Leia on there, and she's a Jedi, but not. It depends. In Disney's canon, she's not. In the extended universe, she is. The extended universe isn't canon anymore. You're so lucky we can't talk about Star Wars on this podcast.
You're
Well, it's
lucky
not
I
that we
can't talk
can't.
about Doctor Who.
It's not that we can't. Is there a Doctor Who video game?
Probably. That show's
Because
been
there's
out
Lego
since like
Star
the
Wars video
50s or
games.
something, or
I could do
60s.
that, but I've spared you. Well, I haven't played them, to be honest. I haven't played any of. Well, I played a little bit of one of them,
Well, there's
but
also the Star Wars one with the guy from Shameless.
Oh, duh. I played those. Fallen Order. Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. I still need to finish Jedi Survivor. That could be a good story. But the thing is, like, I know that you don't care about the sci-fi stuff, so I
I
don't want
like
to bore you.
I like Doctor Who's sci-fi.
Yeah, but like Jedi sci-fi, like the pew pew. I don't know if you'd like that.
Yeah, I try to watch Star Wars. I have to watch it with you, or else I get bored, and I just like
Oh,
go
and
do
you're
something else.
coming to visit, and I was watching A New Hope on Christmas. We can watch.
The new Squid Game season's out.
Oh yeah, is that good?
The first season was really good.
I just don't know how you repeat that.
Yeah, I don't know. People I've seen
It's
some
hard
people
to.
say it's really good. The second season is also really good. So we'll see. I'll
Hey, we can
probably
watch when you're here
yeah, we
if you
could do
want.
that or I could watch it on the flight.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter to me.
Well, if you download it for the flight, let me know,
Mhm.
and then I'll try to uh, catch up. Like if you watch an episode, I'll make sure I'm watching episode.
Yeah, okay. I probably will. So I have something to do on the flight because it's two
Yeah,
hours.
that's usually what I do is
Yeah.
watch something. Um, totally understand. Anyways, sorry guys, we got a little sidetracked. Viggy's coming into town to visit me, so I'm very excited. Yay! I'm gonna
Woo.
tear up the town.
Well, by the
You'll see
time
us
they
on the
see this, I'm
headlines.
about to leave, no?
True, but still. Be tearing up the town. See a news headline
Two
about us.
losers.
Two insane women. Two insane women in the streets. Dressed as Eddie from Iron Maiden.
You dress as
Imagine.
Eddie from Iron Maiden, I'll dress from Stranger Things.
You dress up as a TARDIS. Oh, that would be awesome. I'm sure there's a TARDIS costume.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I lost my train of thought. We'll see you
I'm
guys.
so
Jesus Christ. So sorry, everyone.
alright, guys.
We'll see you guys next time. Like, subscribe, and 2025, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be better.
Yeah, we say that
Okay?
every year.
It's gonna be a better year. I need it to be. All right, bye.
Bye!